Good morning, church. Bob Myers here. Glad to share with you today as we continue our study in 2 Corinthians. And today we're looking at 2 Corinthians 2, Paul's second letter to the Church of Corinthians. And as Brother Bob shared yesterday, Paul spent a year and a half in the church at Corinth, probably the most time he spent in any one place after he became a Christian on his own will. And he's loved the church of Corinth. He was deeply invested in him. He loved him dearly. He wanted to come visit them as much as he could, and he'd sent them a letter early, pointing out some things in the church that needed to be addressed, some issues that needed to be resolved, and telling them that he was going to come by and see him, and he deeply wanted to, and he hadn't had opportunity yet. The Lord hadn't opened it up yet, so he sent him a second letter. And he explains a little bit in this letter why he hasn't come yet. He says, because when I come, I want it to be a time of rejoicing. I want us to hug each other, embrace each other, and rejoice in the Lord. And he said, knowing Paul's spirit and his dedication to Christ, like Brother Josh told us and admonished us yesterday, if he came and found error in the church, he's going to point it out. He's not just going to say, oh, you're doing great and all that. He's going to point out things that need to be dealt with in these Christians' lives. And so he's written them a letter asking them to do that. It'd be almost like if you were at home and maybe in the living room and you had small children in another area of the house and they were making noise and maybe playing a little too rowdy and causing a ruckus, and you were to call back to them and say, hey, calm down, getting ready to go to bed, calm down. And maybe they did for a little bit, but pretty soon it escalated again and got noisy again. There might come a point, or may have come a point, where you would say, listen, if I have to come back there, I will straighten it out. I'm asking you to do it on your own, but if I have to, I will. I'll come back there and I'll take care of things, and it will be real quiet when I get back there and when I leave. That's what Paul's saying to the church here. He's saying, there's some things you need to deal with, and I trust you to deal with it in the Spirit, but if I have to, I'll come and I'll do it, but it'd be so much better for all of us if you just take care of it, and when I get there, it's a time of rejoicing. So that's the overlay of chapter 2 and of this whole letter, actually, the second book of 2 Corinthians. And he makes some beautiful verses in here, some things that we can commit to memory, some verses, particularly like verse number 11. He speaks of how they deal with things, and he says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Paul says, we know what's going on, and he's really being generous to the church of Corinth because the devil has played havoc with this church. But Paul says, we know about the devil, we know what he's trying to do, and so don't let him get the upper hand on it. Love one another, and that will negate the effect of the devil and his devices, what he's trying to do. And then 14, beautiful, beautiful verse. Now thanks be unto God, which always causes us to triumph in Christ. Thanks be unto God, who always causes us to triumph in Christ. If you want the victory, it's in Jesus. And he wants us, he gives us, he provides for us victory in Jesus. Be blessed today as you study 2 Corinthians.